Is it actually possible to slice a head clean in half with a sword, just like they did in this scene from House of the Dragon? We wanted to recreate this sword and this scene in real life to try it ourselves because we believe this might not be possible.
We have sliced a ton of things from watermelons to bricks, and let me tell you, there is no way he actually sliced that head so clean.
But in order to prove this, we have to forge that exact sword. Not a single detail can be missed, and I hope HBO doesn't come after us and sue us for forging their sword, but we had to try this for ourselves. We will make a Damascus steel sword, which is actually what HBO did in real life for the show. This was not only the coolest and most intricate sword we have ever made, but it was also the most difficult project we have ever taken on.
So now let's build the sword and see if we can actually slice this head in real life. First off, we will make the Damascus Blade. This is the most complex part of the entire sword, and Damascus is one of the hardest but coolest techniques you can use for forging.
This sword is very detailed, so we're going to take new processes that capture all the detail. It's going to be difficult, but I think we might just squeak by.
The main problem here is that there's no visible way to know if we made the Damascus right until we grind it down and reveal the pattern in the acid. So to play it safely, we started double checking all the blueprints and steps to make sure there was nothing missing, and that's when we realized we had a major problem.
This is a full-size printout of exactly what we're building.
Oh wow, guys.
Looks good.
I think we're gonna need a bigger forge.
What can we do about that?
Just as we were starting on the sword, we were hit with this major setback, and this is gonna cost us a few days.
Let me make some calls to some friends. I got you guys. I'll be back.
While Kenneth works on finding another forge, we're gonna work on the pommel and the handle and all those little accessories. All these pieces look super complex. Kelly and I are gonna have a really hard time building these.
I've been tasked with making a silicone mold for our hilt. So first we made a 3D printed hilt, and now we just have to pour silicone all around it. So Kenneth told me that this stuff sets in only 6 minutes, so as soon as I start mixing, a timer starts, and I gotta work fast. I've never done any of this in my life.
5 burner deluxe. Yeah, I think that will do. How fast do you think you could get it to us? No, we need this by tomorrow. Yeah. Sounds great. You have my card on file? Excellent.
And just like that, we were back in business. We'll have a bigger forge tomorrow.
One of the most common mistakes people make when making molds is forgetting to add mold release. Without mold release, it's going to be extremely difficult for Kelly or anybody to release molds.
So we actually sabotaged Kelly because we took his mold release and he has no idea. Kelly, I think you forgot a very important piece of this puzzle.
What's that? Mold release. No, Kenneth forgot something. And he didn't tell me. This is a Damascus mold right here. Those are just fused, intertwined together. So now we're gonna make the base that is the foundation for all of the pieces to fit together. And we're making it out of a styrofoam cup.
To make all these super detailed parts, we are using a wax tree, which has a lot of difficult steps. First, we have to make the mold for the wax, which Kelly is doing right now.
Now we have to sit and wait for it to dry. Second dip. 3. This cup is the only reason we're gonna be able to slice through that head. Now that that's done, we have one last piece to complete this handle.
Where's it all going?
You saw it, right?
There it is.
Now I get to break it apart like a safe. How am I gonna break that apart? Oh, look at that. I don't need no mold release. I am the mold release.
Oh. Excellent.
Now it's time to cut it open, and this is the hardest part yet. I have no idea what I'm doing. What the? Our patient is dying. It's awful. Give me that. That was our only one. This took 3 days to print. I ruined it in 3 minutes. The ginormous one is the most important, and it is also the most fragile. Okay. A moment of truth. Oh no. It's just missing some pieces. Yeah, this is just a complete failure. Spread those cheeks. Oh, it did work. Look at that.
Practice.
I got pranked. I thought it was a failure. So I have to weld wax together and hope that it doesn't fall over. And I have to do this with all of these pieces. I already ruined it. First try, gone.
Then we make wax versions of all our pieces and build them into the world's most delicate wax tree.
Now it's time for the scariest part. It goes right there. So I have to make this in a way that when we flip it, metal is gonna flow through all of it and air has a way to escape. Now I have to weld the dragon egg onto here, and this thing is heavy.
So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna turn this into this. And the reason we're doing this is because the stuff on the outside can withstand insane temperatures. And basically we're gonna put this in an oven and the wax inside it is gonna melt and leave a hollow shell for our casting. This stuff is silica. That's the stuff that you see in those tiny packets that says do not eat because it's incredibly toxic. And we're about to just be throwing this stuff in the air. So step one, we have to dip this and coat it entirely in the Grinch juice. Now we're gonna dip this in and we have to be extremely careful because this stuff is heavy and wax is fragile. We have to coat every single surface without breaking it. This first layer is extremely important because it's the layer that's gonna add all of the little details. So next we have to coat this entire thing in that powder, and then we have to do that 9 more times, 2 times with each of these powders up here. Now it's time for layer number 2. But this time we're entering the danger zone because we're dipping ourselves into the silica. And if we inhale this, we'll die. No! It broke off! We have a huge problem. I broke off one of my thingies. So I'm gonna try and put it back on and hopefully Kenneth doesn't notice. Back to primordial goop. Don't look that up.
So the first stage needs 3 coats of fine silica sand.
2 times with each of these powders up here.
The next stage needs 3 coats of a medium gripped silica, and then our last stage needs 3 coats of a coarse silica.
2 times with each of these powders up here.
And just like that, we have a new forge. Now we're gonna forge the Damascus steel blade. This is, in my opinion, the coolest and most important part of the blade, so let's get started. Now, Damascus is kind of like a blacksmith's secret recipe. We don't know exactly how the original swordsmiths made the sword, but in order to make ours, we're gonna use a really interesting technique. Check this out, we have a square steel pipe and a bunch of steel tubes. We're gonna put these 4 tubes into this pipe and then fill them with nickel and steel powder. Now, these 4 tubes and the different metals that we pour into them is gonna create that iconic wavy Damascus pattern that we're going for. This is the last time we're gonna see this texture until it's acid dipped and polished. So we'll have no idea how this actually turns out until the very end. But I'm super excited to see it, so let's keep forging. Using this very well-made funnel, I'm gonna try to pour the nickel powder into the blank space between the tubes and then fill the tubes themselves with steel. Earthquake. Oh, that shakes my whole body, dude. We've welded this piece together and now we have to heat it up so hot that it fuses all the metal inside into one solid block, so let's turn on our new big forge. We have to get this piece of metal to 2,550 degrees. And if we don't get it hot enough, the metal inside won't fuse together and this will have no chance of working. All right, thanks to absolutely no help from Kenneth, it's ready for the twist. This is gonna be sketchy. Oh, it's so hot. Ow, that actually really hurt. Ooh, that's as many twists as I can get in one run. If you just like grab a little too hard for too long. Now I have to turn our twisted piece of metal back into a rectangle. So this is what it looks like right now, but this is what it's gonna look like after the acid etch. Trust me, this blade is gonna look insane.
What I'm doing is I'm trying to determine the pattern. And this is all gonna get squished and stretched. Now that we have all our pieces ground down, they fit nicely inside this tube, it's time to seal it up and forge it out into another piece of Damascus. Once we get these all fused together inside another pipe, we're going to forge that out into the final length of our piece. We need to get this piece up to 43 inches long by 2.5 inches wide. So I'm going to get this piece of Damascus, which has about $1,000 worth of metal in it, over to Kelly, and he's going to grind it down into the final shape of the blade. I hope he's good enough that he can do that.
With no help from Kenneth and 7 hours later, I now have this beautiful flat piece of metal with 27 layers inside. As you can see, it's nice and uniform. Nothing's wrong with it, as there never was anything wrong with it because I did it all by myself.
So the next step we have to do after this ceramic shell is complete is we have to burn out all the wax. We're going to start from the bottom. We're going to heat up the structure with a weed burner and burn out all of that wax, starting with the styrofoam cup. Once the styrofoam cup has been vaporized, we're going to start moving up to melt our wax. We're turning on the furnace and we want that to climb steadily up to about 1,300 to 1,800 degrees. Once the metal in the crucible is hot enough to start to pour, we're going to carefully take that out and move it over to our shank. The shank is then going to be moved by 2 people who are then going to pour it into the ceramic shell. If everything goes right and flawless, then we should have nice formed pieces. That's an excellent pour, but will it turn out?
All right, let's see how this went. That turned out beautifully here. Look at that. Oh, this came out beautiful. Now we have all our pieces.
Now that I've finally finished grinding out the rough shape of this blade, it's time to hand this off to Kenneth for the final touches.
We have our sword soaking in our ferric chloric acid. In about 5 minutes, we're gonna pull it out and reveal that mosaic Damascus that we've been working so hard to achieve. This is the highlight of this sword and looks exactly like the Valerian steel from the show.
After countless hours of forging this sword, look at how this thing turned out. It is insane, but let's see if we can actually slice through this head just like they did in the show.
Okay, this head is rock solid, and Kelly's the one who sharpened that blade, so I think it's gonna snap in half. I'm gonna run away, goodbye.
While he is in safety, I am probably in more danger than this guy's head, so let's see what happens. Make sure you guys subscribe, unless you want to turn out like this guy. 3, 2, 1. Should I try again?
Thanks for coming on this journey with us, and if you liked this video, I'm sure you'll love this one, so I highly recommend you check it out.